Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. It's a Beantown Friday edition of the Ice Guys, Friday, March 15th, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron. And after a couple of days away, Alex B. Smith back in the house, ready to break down this Friday NHL card. Only 2 games on tap, but I guess you could say just a little bit of an appetizer for Saturday and the huge card we've got coming up. No Jimmy Murphy today. He's recording his own show because he's got to leave Montreal. He's in Montreal still. They were there yesterday, him and Pierre Maguire. They did a live show from Hurley's Pub. I actually saw it. It was pretty good. Looked like a good time. And anytime you're at a pub drinking beer, it's a good time. So that doesn't surprise me one bit. But the great show there, live on remote. He's still in Montreal, but he's going to travel back later today. So they're kicking out the show now. Jimmy will be back next week with us on the show. But we want to make a couple of things known before we get into today's show. The first thing being that Monday, there's only 2 games on the NHL slate, and we've been meaning for a long time to find time for our Patreon members to record the Q&A video for Alex and I. And by the way, we've made note of all the amazing questions that have been asked by our Patreon members on the Patreon page. I've typed out every one. We're going to answer every single question that people have posted already on our Q&A, and we're going to do that on Monday for the Patreon members. So what we're going to do on Monday is we're going to do the Patreon live Q&A for Patreon members at 2 p.m. Eastern on Monday, and we're going to move up the Daily Show, which again, will no change there. It'll be free for everyone right here on YouTube as always. We're going to do the Daily Show on Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, 10 a.m. Pacific time. So Monday, there's only a couple of games on the NHL slate, so we'll do the Daily Show 1 hour earlier, and then 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Patreon for our Patreon members. We will do the live Q&A video with me and Alex. And here's your chance. You know, if you're not subscribed on Patreon, here's your chance. Join us there. If you have a question you've always been dying to ask me or ask Alex, this is going to be your opportunity here coming up on Monday, and we will answer every question again that our Patreon members have submitted on the Patreon page. So we're looking forward to that. Nice little Monday coming up, 1 p.m. Eastern Daily Show and our 2 p.m. Eastern Patreon exclusive live Q&A video, Alex. Looking forward to that coming up on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a wonderful time. You know, like I said, people, if you're a subscriber, you've left your questions hopefully in that pinned thread at the top of the page. But if you haven't had time to sign up and ask a question, you'll be able to just do that all at once. You can sign up on the day and join in watching us live and ask questions too. So obviously we'll get through all that are left on there. But if we run through those and there's more questions, so you guys leave more questions, by all means, fire away. So we're looking forward to that, and should be fun. Kind of a little change of pace, especially with a shorter day on Monday.
Yeah, sorry for the mountain time discrimination there, Tim Goose. Yeah, 11 a.m. On Monday with the Daily Show. Yeah, obviously 11 a.m. Mountain with the Daily Show on Monday, and then, like I said, we'll do the Q&A at 2 p.m. Eastern right after that. All right, let's go back and look now. And by the way, one more thing I want to mention. I mentioned this the other day, and I'll keep mentioning it again because this has been, it's been this way for a month, and if not longer. And we got to do something about this. We got to fix this shit as a group, as a collective here with the Ice Guys. There's almost a quarter of the people that watch this show daily that aren't subscribed to the YouTube channel. That's unfucking acceptable. And I said this a couple of days ago. Come on, if you're watching this show and you love it and you're tuning in every single day, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I couldn't believe it the other day. Almost a quarter of our daily viewers not subscribed to the channel yet. And we have great numbers as far as those are concerned. We are over 5,000 subscribers, but it could be even higher if we get the people that are tuning in that aren't subscribed to actually hit that subscribe button, which doesn't cost you anything, to the YouTube channel. So again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And just, you'll get alerts to whenever we're on the air. You'll see when our upcoming shows are, when we post the video clips ahead of time. So again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. if you tune into this show on a daily basis. Thursday, it was a fun show. We thank very much Eric Delarose, who did a very fine job in his first appearance on the Ice Guys show yesterday, live and direct from Sweden. It was him, me, and Matt yesterday. We were hoping for better results, though, unfortunately, than we got with the Thursday card. And I'll tell you what, in the first hour, 7 p.m. Eastern hour, I'm looking at the scores, and I am thinking to myself, man, this is going to be maybe a very good day, a very profitable day. It could even be a huge day. Goals galore early with Arizona, Detroit. San Jose's leading Pittsburgh 2-1 in the first period. That made me very happy. Columbus jumped out in front early against the Ottawa Senators. And there's just a bunch of these scores. The Rangers had the lead early against Tampa. There's just a bunch of these scores, and you're like, wow, this is all starting out. Everything's coming up Ian right now as far as these early results are concerned in the first period. But that's why they play 60 minutes. That's why they play 3 periods. And all of a sudden, things changed for the worse, unfortunately. Now, it wasn't a bloodbath, but it was definitely a bitterly disappointing day because I thought there were so many games that should have been and could have been winners that weren't. Starting with Arizona, Detroit, where we easily cashed 2/3 of the trifecta with the over, and then it just died after that pretty much. But we did at least get 2 out of 3, and that I can't complain. That was actually one of the better games still of the night. And the problems continue for the Detroit Red Wings. Another loss last night to the Arizona Coyotes. The slide continues, and just disappointing all around. Their offense, since Dylan Larkin's been out, has been underwhelming. They really can't keep any team below 4 goals anymore. And Alex Lyon, again, was not he was better than Buffalo. It was hard not to be, but at the same point in time, just another disappointing loss for the Detroit Red Wings. They're still winless during this stretch that they've been missing their captain, Dylan Larkin. 4-1 loss last night. It was funny. People made such a huge deal and stink about the Ben Sherratt, Lucas Raymond incident in practice where they went after each other. And sure enough, who came to Lucas Raymond's aid and defense during the game last night? Ben Sherratt. I thought that was pretty funny. There you go. So that's what it is. Your teammates at the end of the day. You love each other still. You support each other. You got each other's back. It was just heat of the moment. Team sucks right now. That's going to happen in a practice situation. Not the end of the world. And I just found it pretty ironic that here's Ben Sherratt and Lucas Raymond, people blowing it up about how big of a deal that is that they got into a little fracas during practice. And next thing you know, during the game last night against Arizona, there's Ben Sherratt sticking up for Lucas Raymond. So pretty funny to see how that played out. But nothing funny for Red Wings fans right now. A 4-1 loss. And what's concerning about that loss, Alex, for Detroit is we'll focus in more on some of those Eastern Conference matchups with that wild card race. The Buffalo Sabres, what a performance. 4-0 shutout against the New York Islanders. The Sabres are now 3 points back of Detroit and the Islanders for the second wild card spot. Unbelievable. The Sabres are doing this again to their fan base, giving them hope that maybe, just maybe, they could sneak in at the playoffs and down the stretch just like last year. But now it's becoming more and more possible with the struggles we're seeing from the Red Wings and the fact they just beat the Islanders, one of the teams they need to catch head-to-head. And look, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's getting better and better with each start. That has got to be something that you're very, very encouraged by if you're the Buffalo Sabres. Bowen Byram has completely transformed this blue line. I'll be honest, I actually think they're a better team without Casey Middlestat. And Sabres fans seem to agree with me. They said he just wasn't fitting in well. He wasn't producing offensively the way we thought he could. Even defensively, his game kind of fell off this year, and he's been crushed in the faceoff circle. So what has he been giving you, really? And to me, it's been an upgrade in the team dynamic, having Byram and subtracting Middlestat in that trade with the Colorado Avalanche. So it's been very impressive, Buffalo, what they've done. And it's a dangerous team right now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then kind of to make the one bit of good news, the Red Wings got is Philadelphia lost 6-2 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Great performance by the Leafs. I jumped on the Flyers early, didn't look back in that game. So a 6-2 win there for Toronto in that game. Very impressive. What's crazy? We're throwing dirt and we're lowering the casket on the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I know they won last night 6-3, snapping their losing streak. Even with all this bad, shitty run that the Penguins have been on, they're now only 5 points behind the Islanders and the Red Wings. It's crazy to say that. You think they're dead. They've been so bad. But They did win last night, albeit San Jose, albeit Magnus Krona in that. And that was disappointing for me because I thought we had a chance at the draw on the San Jose money line. Unfortunately, Pittsburgh pulled away in the third. We did have the team total, though, over 2.5 with San Jose, plus 128 was a very good price. And we did have the over bifecta in that game as well, the over 1.5 and the over 6 with the Sharks and the Penguins. So that was a good result. The Arizona-Detroit game was a good result. Buffalo was a good result. Here's what wasn't a good result. Columbus, man. Can you figure this team out? They're up 2-0. They blow it in the third. They lose in a shootout 3-2 to Ottawa, who haven't been playing well at all lately, including away from home. That's a disappointing loss for Columbus. I thought Boston would put the boots to Montreal. They didn't. So they only won 2-1 in overtime. They had to way more of a struggle than we thought with the Canadians in that game. I did have the over with Rangers Lightning, but I also had a piece of the Rangers. They had that great start, but Braden Point decided, nope, we're not letting that happen. Not on my watch. What a night for Braden Point. He ended up having a hat trick in the game and 6 points, 3 goals, 3 assists for Braden Point last night. And a very big win for Tampa Bay because they aren't assured of anything right now either as they beat the New York Rangers 6-3. I know Matt Robinson not happy because I was talking with him last night via text, and he was very disappointed. But he's not he's not losing his mind or pissed or panicking or anything. But that is very disappointing considering the third period that took place for the Dallas Stars against Florida. You would have thought 60 minutes of strong effort performance at both ends of the ice were coming last night against New Jersey, and it did not happen. It didn't. Not a great night for Ottinger. But credit to New Jersey. Jake Allen played really well in the third period. He made a couple of really good saves, but still that was not a great game from the Dallas Stars, and New Jersey gets a rather surprising 6-2 win. The only good news in that game is even though the team totals on Dallas and the puck lines fall short, we did at least get the over first period and the over full game with that one. Minnesota 2-0 shutout against Anaheim. Pretty blah hockey game overall. Minnesota had the lead and basically sat on it from that point on, and Anaheim just powerless to do anything about it. Anaheim all of a sudden has found out it's very difficult to score goals. They've been certainly offensively challenged here in these last couple of games. They lose 2-0 to Minnesota. Minnesota, another team that just continues to hang around in the mix there in the Western Conference wildcard race. And I think one of the games that was very frustrating to me the most, and this is the one that hurt me the most, this is the game that turned it from a potentially winning night into certainly a down night, and that's the Vegas Golden Knights, who did not come ready to play last night. And you can give Calgary some credit, played better. Dustin Wolf, who got the start, was pretty good. But my goodness, the Vegas Golden Knights, are you kidding me? 5 shots on goal in the first 15 minutes of that game. You're definitely not ready to play when that happens last night. And everything was to the outside. It just felt, look, this is the time of year teams are going to have nights off, and they don't play well, and it's inexplicable. And that's kind of the minefield you deal with NHL betting post All-Star break. We're into the wear and tear of the season. Teams are banged up. It's been a long, grueling regular season. There's been a lot of travel. Every team has played a lot of games in a condensed period of time since the All-Star break. And there's going to be these random nights where there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no rhyme or reason for Vegas to be that bad last night against a Calgary team that's been brutal defensively the last few games. But the fact is they had nothing physically in the gas tank last night. Nothing. And unfortunately, there's going to be bets you make on teams that you think, well, you can take advantage of this team that can't keep the puck out of their own net, like last night facing Calgary. But because Vegas has nothing in their gas tank, and you could see right away that was the case, that you're going to be in trouble. And that's why I knew it right away. When it was 0-0 after that sterile first period, I'm like, not only are they not going to get the 4 goals, they may not even win this hockey game. And voila, it's exactly what happened last night in that game against Calgary. That's why, for me, I lower the units at this time of year, and this is going to be a battle between now and the Stanley Cup playoffs from a betting perspective. There's no question about that. You got to be careful. It's as trickier as it is at any point during the season, and that's the reason for it. The schedule has caught up to a lot of teams. Teams are battling injuries. Some teams mentally are in the frame of mind where let's just get the playoffs going, screw the rest of the regular season, and you're going to get these no-shows half the time, even from good teams like Vegas, like last night against a team that every other team lately against Calgary has been just absolutely, annihilating this team as far as goals defensively. But last night was one of those nights. So, like I said, you got to be careful, and you should not be. Personally, I would recommend it anyway. Not betting as much amount-wise, bet by bet at this time of year as maybe you did earlier in the year. That's just my personal take right now on the way things are going, but that's what I've noticed. There's just way too much randomness, even with the better teams in the league, as to what night they have it, what night they don't. I don't think it's a matter of they don't care last night. It's a matter of it's like you trying to get into your car on a cold fucking winter's morning and you're trying to turn the key and the fucking motor won't get running. You're trying to get that motor going, turn the ignition, get that motor cranked up, and the motor won't crank. That was the Vegas Golden Knights last night. They wanted to win. They wanted to play well, I'm sure, and beat a Calgary team that was down and out defensively all these games. They had nothing in the tank, nothing at all. They didn't have their legs. They didn't have their skating stride, and they just had nothing physically. And it was one of those nights where, the schedule caught up to them, and that's what happened last night in that 4-1 game to Calgary last night. And like I said, even though they got outshot and they'd still had 29 shots, but like I said, I don't think they had very many in the danger chance category last night in that game. So that's basically my long-winded way of saying that I am not abandoning the team totals route with Calgary just yet. I know that was the first time it didn't hit, betting the team total over for the opponent against Calgary, but I'm not abandoning that concept and that theory. We're going to probably come back to it moving forward still. And then if we lose a couple more times, then maybe we change our thought and process on moving forward with it, but not after just one game. And then the other team that really disappointed me was Seattle. You're off that blown game against Vegas, which was a brutal loss, and you go through the motions last night against Washington, who played a back-to-back, and to come in from Edmonton after playing the night before, and you end up losing 2-1 to the Capitals. And worst thing about it is you lost in regulation. You get nothing out of that game. I mean, it's the kind of game that makes you think, for Seattle, they're swimming upstream as far as the playoffs are concerned, losing a game like that. So that was disheartening to see that for the Kraken. And like I said, they were starting to really turn things up a bit. The Vegas game was looking good for 2.5 periods. And then all of a sudden, there's Vegas coming back, tying the game in the third, and then winning it in overtime against the Seattle Kraken the other night. And thought Seattle would be in a nice bounce-back situation last night. To lose that at home to the Capitals, that's a tough one for the Seattle Kraken, and it just makes the playoff push for them even more difficult. Alex, thoughts on a very busy Thursday night?
Yeah, it was a busy card, but I did not have a lot in action, and it was not just because I was off and had stuff to do. It started on Wednesday night. I looked at this card, saw some of the opening lines, and just didn't see a lot that I liked at opening glance. Every day that I look at the overnights, I try to just automatically gut feeling, what do I like just off of these numbers, teams in current form, and just kind of just go from there. That's my basis is just seeing the numbers. What do I like off rip? Who do I like side? Who do I like total? And nothing jumped out at me at instant look. So I only end up having about 5 plays. Did have a live wager on Vegas and Calgary over 4.5. Cashed that. And, a lot of that had to do with, like I said, reading and reacting to the fact that Vegas just don't have that. Their body language tells them that either they're disinterested at times or maybe they've run out of steam. Let's keep in mind, this is a team that just, defending Stanley Cup champions, played a lot of good hockey early in the year as well. We didn't see the Stanley Cup hangover from this club. Guys were dealing with injuries and different things. Of course, they, like I said, everybody with the LTIR issues now, trying to heal up and be healthy. But I think maybe that's the reason why they're kind of pushing and was putting these guys on LTIR, even if the injuries may have not seemed as severe, because these guys just need the rest. And, at the same time, you're playing this dangerous game because you're the second and last wild card spot right now. You weren't in a comfortable position like a Vancouver or even a Edmonton and LA. You look see LA, as much as they've fallen off, we haven't seen them really shift much out of second and third. So that's the kind of the worrying concern is that, okay, fine, if you're trying to conserve energy, you got to really pick your battles if you're Vegas, because all of a sudden, like I said, Minnesota gets hot and wins a few games, and you guys start losing. All of a sudden, you're out of the playoff picture. So that's pretty problematic. And looking at the East, we talk about these teams that are flipping around. And you got 5-6 teams that are still in the hunt for the wild card. These are all mid-range teams. There's no team that stepped out and looks good. Here's the thing, and I said this a few months ago. I said that the two wildcard teams out of the East probably end up either getting swept or lose within 5 games in the first round. Now, that might have changed somewhat, and of course, we'll still have to see what the matchups are heading into playoffs. But I still don't see a Florida in this bunch in the East like we saw the Panthers last year. I don't see a team that can really just step up and get hot and make a deep run. The closest thing to that would be Buffalo, except Ukko-Pekka is playing well. And if he can get hot, we know what a hot goalie can do for you in March, April, and May. So if he can get hot like Alex Lyon did for Florida last year and get them into the postseason, maybe things could change. But I just don't see that. I don't have that kind of feel and gel. So it was a light night for me because I didn't like some of these spots. And it was more of just kind of a watch and see where teams are headed right now. Calgary, like I said, that watching that game, Dustin Wolf was a great performance, earning the call-up, of course, with Markstrom being banged up, but also he had 5 wins in a row in the AHL before his call-up. So he's feeling, in good form. And you have to be careful now, some of these teams that have pretty much fallen out, that won't be back in the race, but still hanging on. Somebody in the chat mentioned it. Calgary is one of those teams. We're seeing the Hawks now playing a little bit better. These bottom feeders that we usually see this time of year just kind of get ready for travel, get ready for their tea times, and then lose 10, 12 games in the year. It ain't going to be like that for everybody. There's some of these teams that are actually fighting and playing hard, and they don't mind playing spoiler to some of these top-tier teams. So that's something we have to keep an eye on the next few weeks heading into to April.
No doubt. And now we're getting to the point, too, where it's not inconceivable. Like we always think of the West in particular, where you got your Colorado, Vancouver, Edmonton, Dallas. I'd still put Winnipeg in the mix a little bit. Those are your main contenders, right, in the West. Those are the big ones. Colorado, Dallas, Winnipeg, Vancouver, Edmonton. I'm still not sure LA's there yet based on what I've seen from them. Yeah. But it's not inconceivable that, your wild card teams, especially Nashville, with what I'm seeing out of the Predators, couldn't give a team a hell of a series in the first round and threaten to upset. That's what we're seeing right now. And plus, we've, with Nashville, they've got a dominant top line. They got a goalie that's capable of getting in red-hot form in Saros. They've got, obviously, a stalwart defenseman leading them at the back end in Roman Josi, who's playing, again, at an incredibly high level right now for the Predators. So that's why in the West, it's a gauntlet, because you might get a Nashville in the first round out of the wild card position, and you're going to be in for a hard-fought, tough series right out of the chute.
Yeah. And that has certainly changed, like I said, with how Nashville has progressed and played well. And once again, quality goaltender who can get hot, and you're getting great goaltending from Kevin Lankinen as well. That's the biggest key, is that you're actually able to give Saros some rest down the stretch in this. And that's the thing. If you're able to ride Lankinen for 4 starts, he goes 3-1 down the stretch, you get into the playoffs and you having good momentum, and now you've given Saros the rest that he needs to maybe get hot and go on his own run. That's a dangerous team you don't want to face. But you look at everybody else in that West, and we talked about Vegas, where are they going to be? And yeah, obviously their goal is to turn it on once it hits game 1, round 1 of the playoffs. Maybe that's not the case. St. Louis, Minnesota, if one of those two teams find their way in because of Vegas falling out, do you trust either one of them in a 7-game series? I certainly don't trust Minnesota in a 7-game series. They're a piano team. 88 keys on a piano, 88 games in a season. We usually see them bounce out in 6. St. Louis, team that's just kind of fading in and out. Can't really trust them either. So Nashville is definitely your best look of any wild card team to make some noise in the West. And if Buffalo can continue this run, they got a huge game tomorrow. That's maybe a team. If you like Buffalo tomorrow, because I know we'll be on during the middle of the day with that. It's 11:30 start. If you like Buffalo, if you grab them plus money tomorrow, you might as well grab 12-1, 13-1 for them to make the playoffs as well, because that price will not be around tomorrow if they win that game. That price automatically gets cut in half by them beating Detroit tomorrow. So if you like them, your last call is between now and puck drop at 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern tomorrow, because if they win that game, that number will certainly go down.
Definitely. That's an excellent recommendation, because you're right. And there's a good chance, I think, after what I saw last night, I think there's a good chance. I know it's going to be short turnaround revenge for Detroit, because they got absolutely embarrassed in Buffalo earlier this week. But I still think Buffalo, the way they're going, could go in there and beat them again. Just the way they're playing right now. And here's some stats about Buffalo, and then we'll get to tonight's two games. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, top 10 in high danger save percentage, 16-8-1 since December 30th with a .931 save percentage, which is tied for the best save percentage in the NHL since January 1st. That's Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, folks. Tied for the best save percentage in the NHL since January the 1st. That's a big component of it. Bowen Byram has, you know what it is too with Bowen Byram? I'm looking at the numbers. It's a great article on NHL.com about this. Bowen Byram, based on the numbers, since he's joined the Buffalo Sabres here in just these few games, look at how they've improved in so many different areas already. Since he's been there, he's got 5 points, 3 goals, 2 assists in 4 games with the Sabres. Buffalo, since Byram's been there, is outscoring opponents 15-9 and outshooting them by an average of 32.8 to 25.3 per game. They're outshooting the opponent by an average of 7 more shots per game since Bowen Byram joined the team on that blue line. So why is that? Because they have the puck more with this guy on the blue line. And he's just great. He puts the puck in good areas. The puck possession numbers are better for Buffalo. The goaltending numbers are great. So this is real now that we can officially say Buffalo is in the mix. I'm still not ready to go there with they're getting in, but we can officially say that they're in the mix again. And you would have told me this a month ago, I wouldn't have believed it. And yet here we are. All right, let's get into Friday's NHL games. We've got 2 games on tap here tonight. We will begin with the Anaheim Ducks taking on the Winnipeg Jets. We've got Anaheim here Winnipeg rather, minus 440. Anaheim plus 340 in this game as a huge road underdog. The total in this game currently sitting at 5.5, shaded to the over in this game. This is a back-to-back situation here for Anaheim, a 2-0 loss, as we mentioned last night to the Minnesota Wild. We'll see if they can, this is a tough spot considering. Look at the week they've had. This will be their 3rd road game in 4 nights. They had that 7-2 loss to Chicago where things got very, very intense in the 3rd period. We had that mini line brawl, almost the goalie fight as well between John Gibson and Peter Mrazek that night. And then they have to play Minnesota last night. They get completely shut down, and they lose 2-0 to the Minnesota Wild. And now you're on a back-to-back and facing a Winnipeg team that you would think is going to bring better performance and effort to the table than their last game against Nashville, although that's a red-hot Nashville team. No shame in losing to them 4-2, especially with the flu bug running through this Jets team a little bit, which is what kept Mark Scheifele out of that game against Nashville. He was a late scratch because he was under the weather. We'll see if he's feeling better and able to play here tonight in the game against Anaheim, but that's definitely something you want to keep an eye on. Plus, with him out of the lineup, who knows what the actually, it looks like he's good. I'm just seeing the updated line combinations right now. Looks like he's good to go. So Mark Scheifele will be back. It looks like in net for this game, in the lineup, I should say. Laurent Brossoit is in net tonight for the Winnipeg Jets. And as I've said many times on this show, Alex, I do not mind backing the Jets in any form with Laurent Brossoit in net. He's been very good this year. Very good. What did we see last time he was in net? He shut out Seattle on the road last Friday night. 3-0 win for the Winnipeg Jets. He played great. He's got a 2.11 goals against average and .924 save percentage. Those are his numbers this year. You can't do much better than that. 2.11 and a .924 save percentage. Terrific stuff from Laurent Brossoit going into this game tonight. So the one thing that we saw from Winnipeg when Rick Bowness called them out after the Vancouver game, they played Washington on Monday night. They had a great first period. They jumped on the Capitals. They led after the first period. I think, and look, I kind of think they could go over their team total, but I got burned by this with the Washington game in that when they had the lead, they really tightened it up and just sat on it and protected the lead, protected the net, and just, basically went riding it out until the end. They didn't really look to press the attack and go for more goals. So I'm going to have a small bet on the team total over 3.5 for the Jets. But the primary look for me is I'm going to come back to the well with a bet that cashed for me on Monday with Winnipeg against Washington. And I know Brett Skalski on Monday actually had this as his best bet on Monday's show, and that is Winnipeg first period puck line here, -0.5, +106. It's not a great price because you're talking about obviously such a huge favorite, but +106. Winnipeg Jets first period puck line -0.5. That's the bet I like the most in this game, and I'll sprinkle something a little bit smaller on the full game team total over for the Jets, considering we expect John Gibson in net tonight with Lucas Dostal starting last night. And as we've said with Gibson, 16 goals in his last 3 starts. Not good. 6, 6, and 4 given up by John Gibson in his last 3 starts. That's actually why I think the Jets can maybe get 4 goals tonight in this game. But again, they're not always reliable because when they're a front runner, Alex, sometimes they do park the bus. They're okay winning 3-0 like they did against Washington, 3-1, and falling short of the team total. So I am going to be on the team total, but I do prefer the first period puck line here with Winnipeg more than anything else. Alex, what do you think here? Ducks, Jets?
Yeah, this was going to be a pass for me. And it, like I said, it's just hard to kind of back the Jets at these prices. Even like you said, I would love to be getting a little bit more with that first period puck line. And, you know, we talk about it all the time, and I know people in the chat always mention Freaky Friday. Crazy things happen on Fridays. Maybe we get an Anaheim goal early, and then we can kind of look for something live with the Jets. I don't discredit, Anaheim showing some energy early in the contest. So maybe, you look at both teams to score live, first period over live. Maybe the Ducks come out completely flat, and you can still grab a first period over live with the Jets. So this is a game, watch and wait 5 minutes in, see where the pace is. Like I said, this could be a sleepy Jets team and they win 2-0, 2-1, or this could be one of those games where if they feel motivated, they put the screws to them. Winnipeg's dominated them, winning 7 straight meetings and 13 of the last 15. So certainly we know the Jets can kind of usually name their number against Anaheim. It's just a matter of what they want to do within 60 minutes or longer.
I think the best prop in this game is Alex Iafallo for the Winnipeg Jets. And I know this was a bargain bin special casher for Alex earlier this week with him. And he's now got goals in back-to-back games for the Winnipeg Jets. And obviously Rick Bowness has taken notice because it looks like he's on the top line tonight with Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor for the Winnipeg Jets. So, I'm going to give it away. That's my bargain bin special of the night tonight, by the way. Bargain bin. I was going to hold off until the end of the show with that, but it's the clear choice for me. He's got goals in back-to-back games. He's on the top line with Scheifele and Connor here tonight. We do expect John Gibson to be in net, who's been a sieve the last 3 starts. And again, plus 350 at FanDuel for Alex Iafallo to find the back of the net here tonight for the Winnipeg Jets in this game. Yeah, the Morrissey assist props, I think, are definitely a solid look here as well. He's been racking those up. And again, Winnipeg, bad game against Nashville. That's kind of like Vegas against Calgary last night. You could tell Winnipeg didn't have it. Okay, they didn't have it against Nashville. That was just a game they didn't have their best. Physically, they didn't have it. You're going to have that from teams at times this time of year. But I think tonight, coming off that loss, they've been a good response team after a bad game. They're facing a much weaker defensive team, obviously, in Anaheim, and a goaltender that struggled lately. So it has all the makings of Iafallo having a real good chance on that top line to maybe find the back of the net here tonight for the Winnipeg Jets. All right, second game of this 2-game slate, the Los Angeles Kings taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. We've got LA minus 275 to minus 280 in that range here as road favorites. The total sitting at 5.5, shaded to the over here in this game. You look at this Kings team, and 1 step forward and 2 steps back has basically been kind of the pattern for this team. I mean, you go from a great complete performance, shutting out the New York Islanders early in the week on Monday, something maybe to build on, and coming off a loss to Dallas, I believe, over the weekend. And then you follow it up to start a very important road trip, and you still need points. You're not assured of the playoffs just yet. You're in a decent shape, but you're not home and free just yet. And you start the road trip with that against St. Louis. I mean, I was just very disappointed with what I saw from the Kings against St. Louis the other night on TNT. The national game the other night, I just thought was really underwhelming performance from them in that game, losing 3-1 to the St. Louis Blues. And again, they're victimized by this offense comes and goes, and it's just one. You can't rely game in and game out for the LA Kings to get you 3-4 goals. That's just something that is still a problem for them even after all these years, even with adding Pierre-Luc Dubois, and seeing Trevor Moore step up and get an offensive role. integrating more young players into the lineup. Quentin Byfield's at his best NHL season so far. Even with all of that, and your Kempes and Kopitars and guys that can put the puck in the net, this is still not a team that you can bank on, Alex, game in and game out. You can score 3-4 goals for me. It's just not, and that continues to be an issue, and it puts a lot of stress on goalies that can be okay, can be good, but I have a hard time calling them great, and that's Cam Talbot and David Riddick. So that ends up being the issue right here for the Kings, and I have no trust in them at minus 275 on the road against anybody right now, quite honestly. And if you look at Chicago, and I know we've been on this theme all season long with them, I certainly have been, and I know Alex probably concurs. At home, they've been a feisty, tough nut to crack. They really have. They've been, their better performances this year have been at home. They've got just 5 wins away from the United Center, but 13 wins at home this year at the UC. You look at recent home performances. Well, they're off back-to-back home wins. Now, neither of those teams are as good, obviously, as the LA Kings, Arizona, and Anaheim, but you still put 7 goals on the board against both of them. You've got the next generation superstar in Connor Bedard that is playing out of this world good in the last 2 games. He's been absolutely spectacular for the Chicago Blackhawks, and he, at this point in time, looks to be in one of those zones where good luck trying to stop him and get ready for a tough night trying to beat the Chicago Blackhawks when Connor Bedard's playing like this. 8 points in the last 2 games, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points in the last 2 games for Bedard. And you go back to the first of the 2 Arizona games, and he's got 10 points in his last 4 games. He's just been absolutely tremendous. He's carried the team. Put the team on his back and saying, you know what, we're not gonna lay down here for the stretch of the regular season. I'm gonna bring my best, and you guys come along for the ride and see where it gets us here in these last 20 or so games of the regular season. And the bottom line is, Chicago has shown me enough gusto, enough fight, enough willingness to compete at home that I think they make this a tough game on the LA Kings. Now, am I taking Chicago money line? No. I don't know if I trust them to win the game, because this isn't Arizona or Anaheim anymore. This is a step up. But the LA Kings have been more than enough lethargic against subpar. Look at LA. I want to point out they're 5-5 in their last 10 games. They had a commanding win against Vancouver. Vancouver was bad. New Jersey was terrible that game, and that was when Lindy Ruff was his last game. And you could tell that team had tuned out Lindy Ruff. Okay, it was time for him to go, and that was another LA win where they won big. You know what their wins were other than that? The 2 of their other wins, Anaheim in a shootout at home, Ottawa in overtime at home. So there you go. 2 examples, Anaheim and Ottawa, where they barely won the game and they had to go past regulation in both of those games against teams you think they could thump, and they were not able to. I think this is a competitive game, especially with Bedard playing at this crazy good level. I mean, he's doing everything. He's scoring, he's facilitating, he's seeing the ice well, he's making these unbelievable cross-ice tape-to-tape passes where all Tyler Johnson has to do in one of the games is swing his stick and put it in the net. The passes are so good from Connor Bedard. I think Chicago makes it tough on LA, and LA's not winning games easily right now. So give me the draw here, plus 400 at FanDuel. It's a great price. 2 of the last 3 meetings between these 2 teams have gone past regulation. I know there was a game last year in Chicago in November. It went past regulation as well. Plus 400. I think it's very much possible we see this game go past 60 minutes. And I'm also going to sprinkle on the over here in this game, 5.5. Look, I know it's a better defensive team, LA, but there's something to it that maybe there's value with Chicago games over the total right now with what we're seeing out of Bedard. And the fact, I know it's 7 spots against the Ducks and the Coyotes, but I think at 5.5, I said for the longest time, as soon as we see Bedard get things rolling, which he's capable of, and we've seen it now in the last 2 games, there's going to be value to go over after this slew of unders we've seen from Chicago for the last 2 months. And I think now's the time maybe to start buying in on some Chicago games over the total, especially when you're getting a 5.5 like this. Alex, what do you think here, Kings Blackhawks?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the draw here. And there's history, to back this up. 6 of the last 11 meetings going past regulation. This is a Hawks team that's playing a lot better. It's a Kings team that's still just kind of treading and playing, middle of the road hockey. If it wasn't for the Kings having such a great road record at the beginning of the year, we'd probably be talking about this team missing the playoffs outright. They've lost 12 of their last 18 on the road after having pretty much all of their wins seemingly come on the road because they were so bad at Crypto.com arenas. So it's just been a topsy-turvy season for the Kings. And, obviously for the Hawks, the rebuild continues, but they're showing signs of life. We were talking about this before we went on the air. There's no reason right now that if the Hawks could keep this kind of pace offensively with their core players who will be back. We know, obviously, Connor Bedard, Nick Foligno, Jason Dickinson, hopefully Colin Blackwell will be getting a contract extension. But these guys, you add in some other pieces with the cap going up, and they have a ton of money to spend next year. There's no reason that the Hawks couldn't be where Minnesota, where St. Louis, where the Islanders and the Penguins and some of these teams, we talk about these wildcard teams. There's no reason why they couldn't be contending 1 year from right now. And they're showing some life, showing some fight. Now, they have a lot of things to still work on, of course, because it's a team we can't trust to just win games night in and night out. But showing the fight, showing the heart and the compassion. Like I said, playing spoiler. They know the Kings are going to be a playoff team that they're fighting for their playoff lives. Why not throw a wrench in their plans and play well and say, hey, we beat a team that, is either going to the playoffs or thought they were going to the playoffs, and we helped keep them out. Same thing that the Hawks did last year to Pittsburgh. So, they're playing with some inspiration to fight. I like the draw here. I like the first period over and the full game over. I grabbed 5.5 earlier. Those 5.5s are drifting away now. You got to lay $1.25. At this point, I'd say probably wait and grab a full game total in game. First period overs, you can still grab anywhere between $1.12. That's the lowest I've seen at FanDuel, all the way up to $1.20. I like those prices. First period, both teams to score, I will grab a little bit on, but I'm playing that a bit smaller than the overlooks. I also like correct score 3-3 plus 1,500 for 60 minutes. I like correct score Kings 4-3 plus 1,500 also available at FanDuel. I can see where this game, like I said, goes OT, but the Kings really need that second point more than the Hawks, and I think that's when they'll show up. We've seen the Hawks do this going back to the dynasty years, getting to overtime in a hard-fought game at home and then lose like 20, 30 seconds in the overtime. That has happened way more often with the Hawks than it has a lot of other teams. So I could definitely see that one happening here. So small shots on correct score, 3-3 tie in 60 minutes, 4-3 Kings to go with the draw and the over duo with the first period and full game.
It's like the inconsistent offense versus the goalie you just cannot trust. Something's got to give here. Kings offense versus Arvid Soderblom, I should say, here tonight in this game against the LA Kings. We'll have to wait and see how it goes, but that's going to be an interesting one. You would think LA can get 4 goals tonight. You really would, but again, I think Chicago's going to chip in too. Honestly, offensively, I really do. I mean, Talbot. He's not exactly going to put up a picket fence every night in between the pipes for L.A. And like I said, I think now with Soderblom definitely confirmed. Actually, that furthers my stance on the over even more now that I see he's going to be in net. So I agree. This could be bifecta time here tonight with the over 1.5, over 5.5.
And the respect that he's somewhat getting in the markets where he was confirmed yesterday and this was 5.5. And you wake up today and it's still 5.5, where honestly, a 5.5 with him should really be moving to 6. Now, we've seen the move happen now today, but the fact that didn't even move in the overnight just shows you that people are looking at the current form of okay, he beat Arizona twice and he beat Toronto twice. He's not playing Arizona, Toronto here, so tread lightly.
No doubt. So, like I say, I definitely think 5.5, especially given the circumstances, worth a look here in this game. And if anything, LA, even though they can be an under team, I think after the St. Louis game, look, boy, if you're Jim Hiller and the coaching staff here, DJ Smith and the rest of the staff, 1 goal is not going to win us a hockey game. We've got to try to get our offense going, maybe take a few more chances in the offensive zone, get the defensemen involved in the play a little bit. So they could be a little bit more aggressive than normal offensively after what we saw from them against St. Louis the other night in that loss to the Blues. As far as props go, like I say, anybody on the Bedard line is obviously where you have to start with Chicago props, him, Kurashev, and Foligno. By the way, they look like just the best of buddies, by the way, Foligno and Connor Bedard. I've seen some of these clips that have been floating around of them talking to each other on the bench. I mean, you talk about a guy that has really taken Connor Bedard under his wing and has done just an absolutely spectacular job in kind of leading the way from a guidance perspective for this young kid. Nick Foligno's done that and then some for this
Absolutely.
team. Great stuff.
Absolutely. Honestly, and of course, Connor Bedard is going to more likely be the team MVP with his numbers and obviously his skill. But what Nick Foligno has brought to this club, especially when we're talking about a year, well, really, in essence, 2 years removed from Jonathan Toews being gone, is massive. That transition of leadership, and it wasn't a full transfer of power, right? He didn't pass the torch over like they were teammates at any point. But he saw the spot. He knew, obviously, he knows he's just a team leader guy, wherever locker room he's in. But to fill that void perfectly, knowing that Bedard needed that kind of leader role, knowing that these young guys in that locker room needed a voice, he stepped in just so effortlessly into that role of being a leader. And it's honestly one of the best things to see for the Hawks this year. Obviously, everything with Bedard is fantastic, and we kind of already knew what we were going to see. We knew there was going to be greatness with number 98. But Nick Foligno has really impressed me throughout this entire year. All of his quotes, just everything, the way he's handled himself and carried himself. He's a true Chicago Blackhawk, and I'm glad that he's going to be sticking around for the next couple of years.
No doubt. I've always liked all those Foligno kids. Nick, Marcus, of course. Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Foligno, and of course Mike, a great NHL career, the dad of both Nick and Marcus. He did a great job. Parents did a great job with those kids. No question about that. Yeah. Yeah, and Pops had a great career too. The Foligno leap, we all remember that from back in the day. You'd see that every time he scored a goal. And then, so as far as those, like I said, that's what I look at. Maybe Blackwell as well, because we've talked about it. He's been a little bit better lately for the Blackhawks. But on the LA side of the equation, you look at it, Kempe is starting to heat up. You really focus a lot on Kempe right now. And I know you don't get value with him compared to other players, but right now he's the guy for the Kings. Back-to-back games with a goal. Fiala's the other one for the LA Kings. Those are the two I'd center my attention around if I'm going to look at goal props tonight involving the LA Kings. We'll see how it goes, but those are the two right now that have been among the best offensive lights lately for the LA Kings. All right, great stuff. That is the Friday card. Just the two games, of course. Hit the like button. Make sure you do that if you haven't done so already. A reminder, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. And again, if you missed it earlier in the show, we are going to do a live Q&A. We were going to do this pre-recorded and then post it after the fact, but we will be doing a live Q&A show exclusively on Patreon for Patreon members Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we will do the daily Ice Guys show on the YouTube channel, free for everyone as usual, 1 p.m. Eastern, an hour earlier on Monday. So again, make sure if you want to ask a question and watch the show and have it answered on our Q&A show coming up on Monday, exclusive for Patreon, make sure you sign up, $10 per month for that and all the other exclusive content, daily sides, totals, and player props posted on the page, goalie charts, totals charts, bonus videos. Yep. Like I said, the live Q&A coming up on Monday afternoon, and of course, live betcasts. And we are going to have plenty more Patreon exclusive live betcasts coming up April and beyond. If you missed the one earlier this week, man, we're cashing in second period over parlays, second period both teams to score parlays, team total Colorado live bet. It was a lot of fun that night. And I know we signed off the betcast before Vegas-Seattle ended, but if we were still on, I think Alex grabbed a live look too on the draw or something that night with Vegas and Seattle. So again, just great results with that betcast for Patreon exclusive members earlier this week. And we'll have many more coming up in April and beyond. So make sure you sign up, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. And our next betcast before the end of the month is next Tuesday, not next Tuesday, but a couple Tuesdays away, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. This will be a free-for-all betcast open to everybody. So make sure you join us for this one. Our next live betcast, Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send you the StreamYard link for the betcast before it begins. And last but not least, the Ice Guys store. Make sure you get your gear and your merch at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, we got new stuff coming in within the next week. There was a little bit of a delay with that, but everything else is still in stock right now. All of your draw season merch, the classic logo merch, caps are restocked, hoodies, t-shirts, everything available right now at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, good stuff. And it is a Beantown Friday. edition of the Ice Guys show, which means we're going to run back-to-back ads and messages from our great sponsors here at the Ice Guys show, Boston Hemp. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. And again, you can get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code ICEGUYS over at bostonhempinc.com. Proud sponsors of the Ice Guys every day, including here on Beantown Friday. All right, it is time for Bargain Bin Special of the night for this Friday slate. And even though there's only 2 games, sometimes those small slates can bring up the best of opportunities in that bargain bin. Alex, what do you got tonight for Bargain Bin Special?
Yeah, Friday night, 7:30, 1901 West Madison Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. We're going with the Blackhawks and Kings. I'm looking at Phil Kurashev. He had a hell of a night in his last game. 2 goals, 2 assists, beating down Arizona. I think he's going to be feeling himself tonight again. And like I said, everything's rocking and rolling with these top 6 forwards. Let's go Phil Kurashev to get 2 or more points. Plus 460. I've seen anywhere between 400 to 460. You can get plus 460, the highest price available at FanDuel. That's Philip Kurashev of the Chicago Blackhawks to get 2 or more points tonight. Plus 460. That is my Friday bargain bin special.
All right, and a great price. Plus 460. Philip Kurashev over 1.5 points. Chicago Blackhawks plus 460 for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. I already gave mine away, but I'll repeat it now. He's up on the top line. He's got goals in back-to-back games. I do expect Winnipeg to have at least some offensive success tonight against likely John Gibson and the Anaheim Ducks. Alex Iafallo, plus 350 at FanDuel for my bargain bin special of the night here for this Friday NHL slate. All right, best bets to wrap it up. Alex, what do you like here for best bet tonight?
Yeah, let's go draw season. LA, Chicago. Kings just need points. Hawks are playing tough at home. There's been a lot of history with some games going past regulation with these 2 clubs. So let's go Kings, Blackhawks draw. You can get that as high as plus 400 over at FanDuel. That's going to be my best bet for Friday.
It's a really good price, and I think there's a better odds chance of this game going to overtime than that. LA, Chicago draw plus 400 for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. My best bet, it's, I actually, Monday night with the Washington game, I think I used did I use the Jets team total over? I think I did, and it fell short. And I was debating, do I go team total or do I go first period puck line on Winnipeg for best bet? I went with team total. They only got 3, but the first period puck line hit in that game against Washington, and I think it hits tonight. I think they come out strong. They get the lead after the first 20 minutes after losing to Nashville, catching Anaheim on the back-to-back on the road with a goaltender that's given up 16 goals in his last 3 starts combined. John Gibson, most likely in net. Let's go with Winnipeg here. First period puck line. Winnipeg -0.5, plus 106, first period for my best bet here for this Friday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex P. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back tomorrow on Saturday for another edition of the Ice Guys.